Hello everyone, Ben here and welcome back to the USF 2000 Championship here on iRacing. And this week we are at Lime Rock Park for a 15-minute sprint race. This is the penultimate round of the championship. It's great to be back to circuit racing after the oval race that we did last week at the New Hampshire Speedway, and this is a fantastic car and track combination in my view. Really enjoyed racing here this week. You'll see from the formation lap we've got a stacked grid of 18 cars. We had a decent qualifying in a strength of field of 1700. We put it in 8th place on the grid, but it's a very short lap here, and we were only a couple of tenths off being in the top 4 on the grid. So we're just coming around then to start the race. Really tricky opening lap here at Lime Rock Park. There are not many overtaking places, and when the field is all bunched up together, it can get pretty difficult to get two cars side by side through many of the corners on the opening lap. But before we even get to there, there's drama immediately. At the end of the formation lap, as two cars make contact up ahead, we duck to the left-hand side, which in the end was the wrong thing to do, and we nearly made contact with the spinning car. Thankfully, we avoid that, but it has dropped us down as we head into the first corner for the first time. We've lost at least a couple of spots there. We're on the outside of the corner, so we just got to cross our fingers that nobody understeers out into us. We've given away that position to the car who's on our inside, but I didn't want to go side by side through this left-hander and then right-hander, so we're going to just consolidate where we are at the minute. I think it's probably around 10th or 11th place, but at least we've gotten through that drama without picking up any damage, and now we've just got to keep our eyes forward as that for the first time unsettles the car coming over the crest of that hill. Almost feels like you're going to take off. We got the pop-out camera up then because just up ahead we're going to see somebody running wide. That's Broca, who hits the barrier hard. There he is off to our left-hand side. We skirt to the right-hand side of the track to avoid him, and on the end of lap 1, that's his race ruined already. We come down then into T1 for the second time, and you can see the field is still very much bunched up. We've got a train now of at least 4 or 5 cars, and then a couple behind us as well, as everybody is just trying to get tyres and brakes up to temperature, and we can get somewhere towards our true pace in this race. A look down then at the standings, and you can see we're actually in 9th place, so that's not too bad. We've only lost 1 spot off the start and just about keep control there again over the crest of the hill, so we can now build from here and try and recapture that 1 place that we lost, and then see where we get to after that. Up ahead there's another overtake happening there as Sean Ryan makes his way up another place up into 5th spot as he manages to get down the inside of Shigley into T1. We had a little look at Drew just ahead of us, but we weren't able to make a move into T1 this time around. It's a very tight circuit, this. I think there's basically going to be 1 overtaking spot on the entire lap, and it's going to be all about getting a good exit from the final couple of corners of the lap, getting into the draft nice and early, and then getting alongside into T1. Beyond that, unless somebody makes a really big mistake, there just isn't room to get side by side, and there isn't the braking zones on this lap in order to force your way past. So we're coming around with that in mind then, and you can see both Drew and Panagua up ahead of us are within striking distance. Oh, it looks as if we're running pretty similar paces. Having said that, there is then a battle up ahead of them between Shigley and the car up ahead of him, looking to vie for position 2. So we're potentially got our eyes on 4th place here if we could make our way through, and it's really going to be about can we spot our opportunities to get past, because at the moment it still feels, even though we're only a few laps into this race, like we're being held up. And look at that, we get a much better run over the crest of the hill. We could challenge, but there's no way to go side by side through this corner, so it's just about trying to maintain a gap and then getting a better exit out onto the start finish straight. We're going to try and get into 6th gear as early as we can, get into the draft of Drew just up ahead of us. But further up the road, coming into T1, this is Shigley on board, and he's locked up badly and he's gone wide. You can see him there, the smoke filling our visor as he runs wide and tries to get back on the track. He's dropped down then, way down the grid. That'll put us up into a net 8th position. and Drouet up into 7th, and Panagua up ahead of him into 6th place. So at this stage of the race then, a few laps in, what I'm really thinking about is, can I apply a bit of pressure to the 2 cars up ahead to try and force a bit of a mistake? I'm getting the sense already that I've got a bit more speed through this second half of the lap, so I'm consistently already sensing that I'm going to be quicker onto the start-finish straight. It's all then going to be about timing. As you can see, we've got a much better run this time around, so we're closing in on the back of Drouet. We're going to pull to the inside, try and get down into T1. We get on the brakes. I don't want to get pinched into the apex. In fairness, he gives us plenty of room, but he does have the faster line through the corner. We're running side by side and he gets a better exit, and I have to concede that I'm not going to get past on this occasion. I don't want to hold it around the outside of this corner because we're almost certainly going to come together. But that was really my first showing, in a sense, to Drouet that I'm looking to get past here, but also that you can trust me to race fairly. And I've also found out a little bit from that encounter about his driving style, in that he will give me space when I'm clearly alongside. So all of that is good intelligence to have. There was no need for me to rush it. And again, he's made a mistake there into the final corner. We're going to get alongside him, and now we're certainly going to be well into the braking zone alongside him. In fact, we've almost got the move done into T1 before we get into the braking zone, and now it's just about holding it together through the corner. Make sure we hit that second apex. Don't do anything silly, because the move is now done and we're up into 7th position, which is fantastic. We've made progress from our starting position just a third of the way into this race. Let's take a little look back at how that then built up. So this is the lap before we were able to get past. We just weren't close enough to be fully alongside into T1. We tried to hold it on the inside. He, though, does a great job around the outside and manages to hold the position that time around. But we fast forward to the next lap and we just get a much better exit onto the start finish straight. We're already well alongside before we hit the start finish line, and that is going to mean we've got all the space we need heading into the corner to make that position our own, and we trust that he's not going to do anything silly heading into the braking zone, like cutting across our path, and that is the move done. And we can now start thinking about the next car up the road, and that is Panagua. So we bring back to the action now about halfway through the race. It's taken us a little while longer than I thought it would to close up to the rear wing of Panagua, but we are now starting to get up to be able to challenge him in the laps ahead. We have dropped Drouet by about a second and a half, so I don't feel too much pressure from behind now, and in fact, if anything, Freeman and Drouet are battling over 8th place. So my eyes have got to be forward at this point of the race. I've got to try and haul in Panagua. Our pace is pretty similar at the minute. We're both running around the 49.2, 49.3 mark. I know I've got another couple of tenths in me. My best pace in practice was around 49 flat or 48.9, so I've just got to try and eke out that speed. Now I've got a little bit of free air and we're not right up against his bumper. That time round was a 49.1, so that's definitely better, whereas Panagua set a 49.4, so we brought him in by about 0.3 of a second there, and he's now just 0.6 of a second up the road. Got to try and stay close through this part of the track. Difficult to do because you don't want to get so close that you end up running into the back of him in a braking zone. We're consistently quicker through this corner, and you can see he's fighting the car as he comes over the crest of the hill there, and we've also got a better line than he does through this final corner too. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic at this point. There's 5 or 6 minutes left of this race. We've got enough time to just be consistent and close in slowly on the back of him and hope that an opportunity arises before the end of this race. We're also a little bit quicker than him into this first couple of corners. You can see we've got a tighter line into the second apex than he does, and so I'm able to just maintain the gap through this first part of the lap reasonably nicely, which puts me in a good position then to be close enough as we come to the second half of the lap. Through again then into the uphill section. Keep an eye on him there. He very nearly loses it coming over the top of the hill, and then gets out on the grass as well. So he's all over the place. His tyres clearly picked up a bit of dirt there. He nearly loses it again into the right hander. We're closing in hugely here, and we're going to have an opportunity here surely. So we're just about in his draft. We're closing in, but actually we're not quite close enough. So into the braking zone, because I don't want to cause an accident at this point of the race, we don't go side by side. I give him a little bit of leeway there. I get on the brakes slightly earlier, but we do have a better run through the corner. I'm taking a wide entry into this left-hand turn because, again, I don't want to get too close to his rear wing and end up getting collected by any accident that he gets into. And there's really no chance to pass there, so there's no point in me really pushing him through those corners. But again, we're coming to the end of the lap. He again gets a bit untidy on the exit of the hill section. We're coming then to try and get a nice line through here again, and once more you can see his car is all over the place coming through that right-hander. He's going to be losing speed all the way through here, and again we're quicker out onto the start-finish straight. He's just trying to break the toe slightly there. We've got a much better run this time, so we're going to come to the inside. We get on the brakes at the number 2 board. He locks up going into the corner, but he is going to hold the spot. He doesn't lose control of his car, and this is now becoming pretty intense. I think we've got the speed to get past him, there's no doubt about it, but it's just finding the opportunity on track to do it. Drew behind us is still 2 seconds back on us, so no worries there in terms of him creeping up as we fight for this 6th position. We both come over the hill again. We're going to try and just feather the throttle through this right-hander. He gets up on the curb. That's going to slow him down. We're going to catch up to him as we come into this right-hander, and actually we just catch up to him a bit soon, which means we have to get off the throttle slightly. He comes to the right-hand side to break the toe. This time around we don't follow him out there in the hope that we might just carry our speed straight down into T1, but he manages to make that safe. Freeman behind us then is now challenging for 8th place, and he manages to get down the inside of Drew into T1 this time. That's been a battle that's been raging for many laps, and eventually Freeman has got past. So I do now just need to be a little bit conscious that now that he has been freed, as it were, from being behind Drew, that Freeman might close up on the back of us. So that adds another imperative to try and get this move done in the next couple of laps. We only have 2.5 minutes left of this race, so either way I do need to get on with it. It looks though as if Panagua has just settled down slightly here, and we're not going to be close enough down into T1 on this lap. So it's just about resetting then. I've had a couple of half chances, I think no more than half chances, but they are giving me signs of encouragement that sooner or later he's going to get a little bit loose coming over the hill, or a little bit raggedy going into those final 2 right-handers. And that is going to give me the chance to get fully alongside before the end of this race. But we're racing so well here together. This has probably been the best experience I've had on iRacing, of close racing for the full length of a race. Normally you make up a lot of your positions, or certainly I've found in this season a lot of positions have been made up through people having accidents or making mistakes, whereas this time I'm really having to fight for it, and it feels fantastic. As we come round again onto the start-finish straight, not close enough to make a move, but again just keeping the pressure on and trying to fill his rear view mirror. He locks up again, and that's going to give us half a chance coming into the second apex, but we just again weren't close enough, and I have to just fade out of the throttle so as we don't make contact. He's going to hold the position through this lap once again, but we get a decent run out. He clipped the curb there, that'll unsettle the car, so we're going to be very close heading into the uphill section again. Got to be just a little bit careful, because if he loses it at the top of the crest, I don't want to get collected by him, and he very nearly does. He jerked to the right hand side there. So we're certainly going to be closer through this section. We close right up against, we could go alongside, but we just think better of it because I don't want to be forced off onto the grass on exit, and I almost certainly would have been. So we have to get out of it, and that costs us the chance down the start-finish straight this time around. Less than a minute left then on the race clock, so we are running out of opportunities now to get past Panagua up ahead. We're going to have to try and make something count quite soon, and just try and apply a little bit more pressure. It doesn't look as if Freeman is closing in on us, despite the fact that we're losing time behind Panagua up ahead. The gap behind is still 2.5 seconds, so it's There's very much a battle now between us for 6th and 7th, and it doesn't look as if we've got any danger unless we make a catastrophic error of finishing lower down. We're going to get another good run out of that right-hander, try and push him through this corner. There's nowhere for me to go. His car's just too wide. There isn't room for 2 cars to go through. He looks to break the toe again, so we swerve to try and get into it, and the white flag has been waved, so this is going to be our final lap. I only have one more chance then of making this position up, and being absolutely honest now, having been quite encouraged a few laps earlier, I'm not expecting to be able to do this now. All Paniagua has to do is hold the racing line tight, and there's not really going to be much that I can do. Up ahead, this is our leader, Repulus, coming over to win the race. He's won comfortably. He hasn't really been challenged up top, so fair play to him. A great pace that he's shown, but look at that, coming over the brow of the hill. Finally, Paniagua does make a mistake. We have the confidence to turn into the apex that we won't run into the back of us, and quite amazingly, we've done it. We've done it on the last lap of the race. We're going to come home in 6th position, which is a brilliant finish, but more than anything, it was just a fantastic race. It felt so good to be running in such close proximity to other drivers for the full 15 minutes, to be fighting for position fairly and with confidence that we weren't going to get taken out. And well, hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did racing it. And then the cherry on top of the cake really was making that place up at the last. Felt a bit sorry for Paniagua because he did drive a really good race, really respectful all the way through. But that finish meant a haul of 75 championship points. It puts us up into 19th place in the standings, which is fantastic. Really happy with that. A nice bump to our iRating as well, which is nearly up to 1400, and our safety rating at 3.49. So one more race left in this championship. We're off to Alton Park next, and we're sitting really well in the championship for a good finish here. And I'm just really enjoying racing in this USF 2000 series. I hope you've enjoyed the race. If you have, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out, and I will see you next time for the final race in the championship at Alton Park.